Why not do this? This is such a good idea. Let's do this. It was like that. And we started Dosa.
Okay, so a passion project, right?
Passion project, yeah.
Wonderful. So how come, why food trucks?
Why food trucks? We happened on food trucks by chance, obviously. But we found that it is an enticing proposition, right?
People look at the cinema and the way it's portrayed of being an entrepreneur is that, you have a very fun-filled life and, you're enjoying and, it's all about success, and success. That's how it's portrayed, right?
Yeah.
So, what goes on behind the scenes?
Nothing like what you see on screen. I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean, it is fun. There is customer interaction. There is interaction, which gives you a lot of pleasure. It's not all bad, but there is so much more that goes in the back end. It's operational. Make it as irresistible to them as possible. Like, take away any option that they might consider as being better than this. So it is, things slip through the crack. It happens. It is challenging. In the early days, it happened more often than it does now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Onwards and Upwards, a digital talk show by Jupiter Learning, where we bring to you entrepreneurs who have never let go of their dreams and passions and have moved onwards towards the extraordinary. To begin our first episode, we are delighted to welcome Jyoti Ganapathi, founder and CEO at Dosa Inc. Foods Pvt Ltd. Just to give a background, Dosa Inc. was started in 2012 in New Delhi, and it's a food truck concept customized for the Indian market with authentic South Indian home-cooked cuisine. So let's get into a one-on-one with... Hi Jyoti, thank you so much for joining us today on Onwards and Upwards, and it's a pleasure to talk to you today here. We would love to get to know about your journey and about Dosa Inc., but let's begin with you. Can you give us a little bit of introduction about yourself?
So I'm Jyoti Ganapathi, as she's already mentioned, you've already mentioned. I'm from Delhi. I grew up, born and brought up in Delhi, but from what is called I went to school in what is called lovingly called the factory everywhere, DPS Archipro. It was a very good experience, despite whatever anybody else thinks about it. And then I
will vouch for that because I'm a dip site as well.
Yeah, no, it's a learning experience. It trains you to deal with the world, right?
Exactly.
So then I went to the US for my undergrad. I majored in economics and psychology, and I also continued on for my grad school in the US at University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, where I was mastered in human resources and industrial relations. And I started my PhD program in industrial organizational psychology. Wow. And in what is probably a precursor to entrepreneurship, I dropped out of my PhD and I came back to India and I started working with my father, who was a leading person in the field of logistics and supply chain. And this is of course pre-startup era. So I worked with him and was probably a very grounding and a really, important experience, stepping stone to myself becoming an entrepreneur as well. It wasn't a field that I knew anything about, for starters. And it wasn't, it was probably not something that I wanted to do either. But I learned a lot through it. And it was important because since it wasn't something that I knew anything about, or I figured that anything I do, I can learn about it. So it was a very, very solid experience. And it was also a very solid experience of learning how to work in India. You come back from abroad and you think that things have to be in place, things have to work, and it doesn't. You have to beg for it to work. You have to plead, and you have to, you can't yell and it'll work. You have to be at it and it'll work. So it was a very, very good experience. I built a strong relationship with all the people that I've worked with, and then eventually my father sold the company to a Japanese company, and we both moved on. And at that time, during the interim period, I was working with a non-profit called American India Foundation, and side by side, this was a thing that I was at loose ends. I'm doing something and still have time, and why not do this? This is such a good idea. Let's do this. It was like that, and we started Dosa.
Okay, so a passion project, right?
Passion project, yeah.
Wonderful. So I think entrepreneurship is there in your genes and the environment as well. So
yes and no. Environment, yeah. I think maybe it's in the genes, maybe it's not. I don't know how many successful entrepreneurs have entrepreneurs in their family, but I think the experience of growing up in an entrepreneurial home is very, very important. I had been through it with my father. My father was like I said, he was in a brick and mortar business, right? So he had trucks. And, I remember my father would wake up and get a call in the middle of the night at 2 o'clock. Oh, truck has been stopped in Bhopal border, something. Oh, there's been an accident, something. And I remember my father, we had like 3 or 4 phone lines in those days, in the 80s and 90s, when, this wasn't a norm. And my father would go on all 4 of them at the same time. So, we didn't have a dinner table with like all of us sitting together and chatting about our day. That didn't happen. He was on the phone. We were eating. My mother was, would eat, or I would eat something, and we had done and moved on, right? So that kind of a busy household where it's ringing all the time, you're working all the time and you're answering calls, even though it's supposed to be family time, was part of my upbringing. So when that happens to me right now, I don't think of it as an odd thing. Like I'm thinking, yeah, this is how it is, right?
Right.
And you're okay with the sacrifices you make at the family end.
Right.
You don't think that that's a problem. I mean, yes, it's a sacrifice, but you don't think of it as a problem. I don't think that my son is not getting enough time with me because I'm on the phone with a customer. I don't think that. I think he'll be fine, because I was fine.
Right.
So, that makes it a little easier. Otherwise, you're, as a woman, entrepreneur, you're always thinking.
Yeah.
Men don't think so much about it. Women do, right? They're thinking that everything that we do, which is taking away from your, time from your child, is a sacrifice, and you're hurting them in some way. But I know that that's not how it is.
Right. I think that's important, because we tend to go on that guilt trip, and we're not doing justice both places.
Yeah. You're thinking that, oh, you need to your child is asking you a question, right? And you have to answer. You put down the phone and answer the question. It's not like that. I'll answer the question. Is it an important question? Does it have any value? I evaluate it like that now. So it's it's a little less guilted motherhood is what I would say.
Wonderful. So Jyoti, food trucks is never looked at as a viable business, and you guys gave it a structure, and so how come, why food trucks?
Why food trucks? We happened on food trucks by chance, obviously. But we found that it is an enticing proposition, right? You're with the truck. There's no good market, bad market. Like, bad market, finished. Oh, it's done. It's a day. It's finished. It's a bad day. A bad market is a bad day. You can go and look for another market. Every day you can go and look for another market, another place. You'll find success. So second thing was, you go as close to the customer.
Right.
Go to the customer. Forget waiting in some place and see if they come. Oh, ye to jagah acha nahi hai. Ye market mein footfall nahi hai. Doesn't matter. Footfall is irrelevant.
Right.
You go to the customer. If my truck is standing in your building and you can smell the food, you are going to find it irresistible.
Right.
And make it as irresistible to them as possible. Like take away any option that they might consider as being better than this.
Right.
And that was, why we felt that this is a great business. This is a great business. We are now combining the experience that you have in a restaurant, which is like live food comes here, with the convenience of delivery. You're sitting at home and you're getting live food. It's like that.
Right.
So so from that, but to make it viable is the grind, right? How do you make it viable? You have to take away all the, one by one, the hurdles that you have to clear, the barriers to make it grow, right?
Right.
Most people now, like your Ps and venture capitalists and entrepreneurs, all think about businesses in from the perspective of growth.
Right.
Can you grow this business? And with this as being a new model completely that nobody had done before, there was no template for it, there was no playbook for this. We had to sit and think about every single thing that prevents it from being a growable business. And then take that away. How do you get over this problem? How do you get over that problem? What do you do for this? If I have to make this into 4 trucks, what do we do?
Right.
And we did it. We went from 1 to 2 to 4, and we've done it. And so from 4 to 10 is not a difficult thing.
Right.
But that is what you have. That's a lot more work because there is nothing there for you to follow.
Right. Right.
The notion that you're a restaurant, you're in one place, people go to work to a place, it's very set in your head, right? That staff comes to this place, they do this shift and they go, and people come to this place. It's easy to manage. You clean up this one area. Here you're talking about there are 2 parts of the operation. One is in the kitchen, one is at the location. To people's mind, it feels like that's a lot of work. It's too much effort. It's too operationally intense and complicated. But that's what we've done. We've simplified it. It's a template. It's not, yes, there are 2 parts to it. And these are 5 steps that you need to do in the kitchen, 5 steps to be done at one location. It's fine. And the advantage we have is we're not stuck and we're not tethered, right? You spend a lot of money on a restaurant, you do up the decor. It's, the minimum investment for any kind of small, even sit-in, like a small hole in the wall is 10 lakhs, 10, 15 lakhs, right? At the very least. And then you add deposit to that. You add all of those things, right? Your fixed cost on top of your capital expenditure. And if it doesn't work, you're done, right? In 6 months, it's not going to work. You're not going to pick up. So with us, it's easy. Okay, this location, not so good. Maybe, they have a lot of options. You move. You don't go back there. You go to some other location. And you're as close to the customer as possible. You're in their face. It is very hard to ignore what is convenient and what is in your face. Nothing else is more convenient than us on the day that we are in your neighborhood.
Right.
Not Zomato, not Swiggy, nothing is more convenient because you don't have to. Your food is going to be coming right from the tawa to your house without that 40-minute, 30-minute following them, tracking them on your app. Nothing is more convenient than this on that day. So it's just a matter of when you know that there is an advantage, there is a demand. It's a matter of breaking down the process and figuring out what are the steps here, what are the steps there, and that's it. But that notion hasn't reached a lot of people to understand. Also because food trucks are seen as passion projects.
Right.
Yeah, they're seen as, oh, I'm a chef, I want to do this, and this is my passion, I would like to. And you see movies, and it's always a stepping stone to, okay, I'm going to set up a restaurant.
Right.
It's always the end game is a restaurant. End game is never like I will build this into a fleet and I will build this into a business model. It is always a stepping stone to something else. So, but if I'm the only one standing, I'm happy about that also.
So
live in the for as long as I can.
Right. So when you guys started in 2012, I think the food delivery hadn't picked up that much at that time. So you were not competing with the Swiggy or the Zomato and things like that. So how has it changed things for you guys?
It's definitely, Swiggy and Zomato are our competitors. People ask us, oh, what is your competition, right? They, they're expecting us to say, name some restaurant, whatever close by, but that's not it. It's Swiggy and Zomato. That's the competition.
Right.
On any day, a customer has the option. Now he has the option of, say, 10 restaurants on my app, and you're standing there. Do I feel like having South Indian food, or do I feel like having any number of items on this? Now, competition is good and bad, right? You can't, there is a good aspect of it, and then there is, it hurts you. Our sales go down. Yes, it's happened, but it evens out because more customers are coming into the whole, let's eat out notion. So pre-Zomato, Swiggy, people weren't eating out as much anyway. They were eating out, of course. There were restaurants, but then that was a production. It was a fine dine. Hum bahar chalte hain. Let's go out and eat. Let's oh, what do you want to feel like eating? Let's go and eat Chinese. Oh, let's go to Nirula's. Let's go somewhere, right? It was a production. Now it's like, oh, it's a convenience, right? The maid hasn't shown up. I don't have time. I'm coming back from work at this time. Can we just order in? Right?
Yeah.
So there are more people now ordering in as well. So it's both ways, and it's good. The more people order in, the more people to consider you as an option.
Right.
So you just need to be visible. So I don't, in the true capitalistic spirit, I don't consider competition to be a bad thing. It just means that the market expands.
Right.
How do you deal with specific, okay, my business came down a little bit type of a thing? You tweak your menu, you make it more exciting for them. You give value added services to your customers, right? So we, in the early days, what we started doing was we started doing monthly specials, like different items from the varied South Indian states, right? So 1 month it would be like a pesarettu upma, it's that's an Andhra thing. Or another month, something else, Madur Vada, again Karnataka thing. These are all things that we're slowly introducing to an audience that probably is not familiar with it. Right, and it's also something to look forward to. So we started getting calls. Is mahine aapka kya special hai? Ye kya cheez hai? We get questions. Ki ye kisse banta hai? So and then the next time, if after a few months, they'll be like, wo aap wo banate the na, wo kab banayenge? Wo kab special mein aayega wapas?
Right.
So we're building their knowledge and their tastes as well, and also giving them something to look forward to. So it challenges you to come up with ways to provide a better product and better service. So in most ways, it is a good thing to have competition. I don't see it as a negative.
Okay, that's actually, I think, a very good take to keep you motivated in business.
Yeah.
So tell me, with all your operational tasks, with the moving around and moving the fleet and the van here and there, there's a lot of multitasking and there's a lot of operational tasks. So is there a fear of missing out on the finer details or the quality, or how do you keep that consistency?
Yeah, so it is things slip through the crack. It happens. It is challenging. In the early days, it happened more often than it does now. Now the challenges are known. The unknowns are very few and far between, right? In the early days, quality would slip because you're going through your staff as well. Your staff is not fully trained. There's one person trained, somebody else is getting trained. You have those types of challenges as well. You don't know what is a good way to train them so that your customers are not affected. Right. So those are there. Then weather, what kind of effect does weather have on your food? A lot of it is unknown. You are as somebody who's working out in the open, you're affected by weather more than, let's say, a restaurant environment, because that's indoors, it's controlled, everything is done. For us, it's too hot, the chutney is getting spoiled. What do you do with that, right? So slowly you experience, you tweak, you fix. then that's not a problem anymore. So, but over the years now, whatever, 7, 8 years, the number of new things and new work. So the slips and the slips between the crack also, are much less. It's still, we are ultimately, businesses are human. We think of them as machinery, but it's run by human beings. There are sometimes issues with in dealing with the customers, not understanding what they're saying and not responding in the way that would give them comfort. Those things happen, but it's a lot of it is known, so a lot of it is fixed over a period of time. So it's the same way with consistency. We test, we check. We've now, our training is also very set in its place, like how it is trained, how we train them, how at what points do we give new people opportunities, so that there's no blowback on mistakes. There has to be room for mistakes, but there should not be any blowback because of those mistakes. So with that, you get a little level of consistency, so that happens.
Okay. So, there's one thing that you mentioned in the beginning where you talked about, people look at the cinema and the way it's portrayed of being an entrepreneur is that, you have a very fun-filled life and, you're enjoying and, it's all about success. That's how it's portrayed, right?
Yeah.
So, what goes on behind the scenes? Have you ever had to, really roll up your sleeves and get into the kitchen and,
that we've done.
And
early days you do everything because somebody's not well, you have a very lean staff. Or somebody's not well, now you're filling in their shoes. I've cashiered at so many locations. I've run supplies from one place to another, from Noida to Gurgaon. I've done all that. My husband, who's my partner, he was cashiering for one whole year because with the second truck to get somebody up to speed with cashiering. It's we've done that. He's made vadas inside the truck. All of that we've done there. It's good. You understand. I mean, today we tell somebody who's whining about what they're doing or they're not understanding. We tell them that, look, there's nothing that you are doing right now that we haven't done before. So we know what this work is like.
Right.
So that's a good thing. But it is nothing like what you see on screen. I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean, it is fun. There is customer interaction. There is interaction, which gives you a lot of pleasure. It's not all bad, but there is so much more that goes in the back end. It's operational. Food is an operational entity.
Right.
And there is no putting off of work. Like there's nothing like, oh, today's work I can do it tomorrow, I can do it day after. Today's today, and when it's done, it's done. You've either done it or you've not done it. So to make sure that things come together at the same time, at the right time, a lot goes behind it. It's not easy working in India, or at least in Delhi, with the weathers being at complete extremes. You have heat, you have rain, you have pollution. That's not a season. Pollution is a season now. October, November, it's that, and then it's extremely cold. I mean, small stupid things like when it's very cold, we work with cylinders, the gas gets frozen at the bottom. You will not, you need to, it is a challenge. They have to turn it around. They put it in hot water just to, cool down the gas at the bottom to get it up. So, there are these small things, and it all takes a lot of effort, and it's not easy even for my staff. We are going to soon be coming upon summer. It's going to be 40 degrees, 45 degrees. They're going to be standing out in the heat in a tin box. It's not easy. So it isn't, the back end of it is not glamorous. It's not easy. There are stupid calls. We get calls in the middle of the night. The vehicle is coming back from somewhere. Oh, excise walon ne rok diya hai, isne rok diya hai. Oh, something is broken. The vehicle, like the axle is broken or something like that. You have to be there to respond. Like, you have to figure out what you do for what kind of emergencies. You have to have a distinct of numbers. It is not stress-free, but there is pleasure.
Right.
In all this, I mean, I don't want it to sound like a downer. There needs to be a sense of reality, but there is pleasure. That is what keeps us going. You
Right.
know, a call from a customer who said, I really, really liked it. How do you do this? I mean, can you come here? When do you come next? I can have it tomorrow again. You
Mm.
know, or they call us and they give us the order. It's very simple. They say, oh, आपका खत्म हो जाता, आपका इतना popular है कि खत्म हो जाता, आप मेरे लिए अलग करके रखना, पक्का रखना. It's a small thing, it's nothing. They are thinking, they don't think that I will take this as a compliment. I am,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
Uh, so you know, it's these interactions that give you a sense of why you continue going through this. So you know, it's both, but
Mm.
one shouldn't just look at a movie and say, oh, this is fantastic. You have to take the tough with the smooth.
Right. So how do you deal with these overwhelming moments? I mean, it's like being, you have to be working 24/7. There's no break. You don't get to take a holiday. You don't get to decide, that today I'm not working. So how do you
No,
deal
you
with the
can't do
overwhelm?
that. You can't do that. It does get overwhelming. You know, you make mistakes because it's overwhelming. It happens. It gets better.
Mm,
You know, my first 2 years, no, we couldn't take a break. We just couldn't. I mean, for us, going out for a weekend was like a big success.
mm.
And you know, till the moment we're on a plane or a train and it's on the move, we're doing work,
Mm.
just so that we could take 2 days off. Now you're still doing that. you till the moment you have to shut it off, you're doing that. But we can afford to take 10 days or 15 days because you know, some things have fallen into
Fall
place.
into place. You have
Yeah,
people who are trained
yeah,
and
people are trained. You know what the work is. In the early years, we didn't even know what the work was, right? Like, what is the business model? What is the thing to be done here? You know, how do you do that? How do you deal with this? Now, because a lot of it is known, a lot of it is a part of the playbook, and a lot more people are trained.
right.
So it feels like an achievement to be able to do that, but it does come, that time does come. You are working 24 hours, and in some ways it's there. I mean, I remember this one time we were my husband and I had gone for a safari, and inside the jungle you don't get you know
Signal.
signal, right? So that's it, no calls. And at some point during the safari there was a hilly terrain, and it went up the hill, and there was suddenly like 2 moments of like signal, and we got a call, and it was from a customer for a large catering order for the next day, and we only had that much time to be able to tell them that, look, call this number, this is my manager, he'll be able to assist you, and he will be able to figure it out. And that is all we had, and then we were back down the hill, and signal gone.
So I would like to go back to one thing, Jyoti. You had said that it's not very structured. So how difficult was it to actually set up the business?
Very
Restaurants, yes, it is very structured. You know where to go, what are the permissions you require, what you need to do, the process to follow. But with a food truck,
yeah,
how difficult was it for
nothing
you
nothing
to
was
set
known.
up?
Nothing was known. There was nothing. There was zero information. Everything
Right.
was gained on the way to doing this. In fact, whatever you might see online about how to set up a food truck in India is probably stuff that I have researched, and I have given out in interviews to different people. And I mean, I feel it's important to do that because somebody needs to do that, so that more
Correct.
people can come in and at least let them have a template for, not actually have to go through this from scratch.
Right.
Nothing was known, and there is still a lot of stuff that is not set.
Mm.
um, so there isn't a license for a food truck specifically.
Mm.
Not yet. There are talks that they will be doing so in Delhi at least.
Mhm.
I think that this thing is, the deck has been cleared for that, but a lot of finer points have to be established before that can happen properly. But there is no license for it. You need to have some requirements
Mm.
um, to be able to do this. As a food vendor, you need to have an FSSAI license. As a having a kitchen, you need to have a health trade license. If if you're doing setting it up with a food, like to serve food and people sitting and eating, then you need to have some fire safety, certificate, things like that. Now everything was, somebody showing up and saying, how are you doing this? Who gave you permission?
Right.
And then me digging into it and saying, okay, let me look into the rule books. Let me see what can be done, what can't be done. And there's nothing that tells you what can be done. It can only tell you what can't be done.
What
and
can't be done.
you have to you have to read between the lines and say that, okay, fine. There's nothing specific that says that this is not okay. So let's assume that that's okay. So I've done that with MCD, which is Municipal Corporation of Delhi. I've done that with the traffic rules. Like basically, I'm the master of Motor Vehicle Act now and DMVR, which is the Delhi Motor Vehicle Rules. I've done a PhD on that. I fought cases in the court on that, because a lot of people don't realize, they think food, but it is a truck. It's on a vehicle that moves on the road. So the vehicular things are very important, like small things like fitness. If you're running on a vehicle, that vehicle needs, it's a commercial vehicle that needs to have its fitness done periodically. There is, all your vehicle documents have to be in order. It needs to, the design of the vehicle has to fall within certain parameters. You can't, I have Italian cuisine, I need a chimney, I need a oven, I need all of that, and so I'm going to make this into a huge thing. It won't work. You come into Delhi roads and your vehicle is impounded. So these are all things that, read. Okay, clarify, and read between the lines as well, and formulate a notion of what is okay, what is not okay.
Okay.
And it's not easy, and there's still a lot that is unclear. But hopefully it'll move towards clarity. This is what happens, right? There's a business, it comes first, and then the rules follow. So regulations follow after that. So that's how it happens here.
So you really need to have an iron will. So with that iron will, what are the key learnings that you would like to tell somebody, who wants to look at food truck as a business, or, just to be an entrepreneur in general? Not the glamorous part, but the hard work and the key learnings.
So, to be an entrepreneur, the first and the most important thing is to have patience. You need to be patient, because things do not move at the pace that you think it should move. You have a business plan. A lot of entrepreneurs now start, it's not like me with this stupid passion project. Most people start with a business plan. Business plan is a good starting point, but it will not move like that. Your business will look nothing like the business plan. So to have the patience to stick and see what is working, what is not working, and to wait for it to fall in place. Things, there's learning, things, this is working, this is not working, that's okay. But sometimes it's going to take that time to fall in place. It's not going to happen immediately, however hard you work. It's going to take 6 months, it might take a year, it might take a year and a half for it to fall in place. And you need to give it patience. You have to chase after people, chase. That needs patience, because this is your priority. It's not anybody else's priority.
Exactly.
So that is not going to happen with, things don't work. That's not going to happen. You have to be dogged. You have to be dogged. You have to follow through, follow up, request. And all of this needs patience. And that is true for any business. Not just this is operationally intense. It's a little more. It's a business with steroid. But any business requires that kind of a thing where you're dogged. You're seeing it in the future, and it'll happen. So what I do is, it's funny. I make a list of all the things that needs to be done. Not a small task list, but project level thing on my whiteboard.
Okay.
and at some point I'll revisit it. It could be a quarter, it could be 6 months. I'll revisit it, and it will all, at that time it will all seem like I will do this and this week, and I'll be able to tick mark, and I will see that it will happen 6 months. Half the board will be tick marked, and that will be an achievement. At least 6 months I've been able to do, and that is an achievement. And a place like India is 100% an achievement. That you've been able to clear out half your task list, your project level task list. That's a big achievement. And you should feel pleasure, that the patients should give you the pleasure, sense of pleasure when it happens, right? That's one learning. Second is also to be able to, see the writing on the wall for certain things, right? Some things are not going to work. No matter what you do, it's not going to work. You can put in your effort. It is not meant to work. To know what that point is, and I'm not talking about the business. I'm talking about an initiative or something, anything, right? A product or an initiative, something, service. It could be anything. Some things are just not catching on. It is not taking. It is not because of lack of effort. Maybe the time for it has not come. And or maybe it is not something that is needed. And to be a little ruthless about cutting it out, right? Say that, we're not going to do this anymore. And it's harder if you're, if it was part of your original plan. In your head, this was going to be the business. And it is not doing that. You have to refocus. I mean, put that aside and say that's not working. I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm not going to waste any more resources. No matter how much resources I've already put in it. Just say, call it a day with that. Let's move on with what's working. So to have that. And the third thing is you have to get your hands dirty. Your hands don't have to be dirty forever, but your hands need to get dirty. At least in the beginning, and I don't know how to define beginning. It's different for different businesses. It could be 2 months, it could be 6 months, it could be 2 years. A beginning for a business. And if you're in a new business, area of business, if you're building something that has not existed before, that time could be 2 years. So you have to be hands-on for that period, because what you see, nobody else will see. You're the person with the vision. You're the person who can see the micro and the macro. Nobody else. There's no person that you hire who will be able to do that for you.
So one question which is a tough one. How was the pandemic year for you guys? What changed, and how did things change during that year for you?
It's been a very difficult year, and it's a year that's scarred us all in various ways. For businesses, particularly businesses like us and small businesses like us, it's been a devastating blow. Thankfully, one thing which we didn't do is we didn't shut it down and say that, we'll open up when things get better, because that didn't it's not gone, right? It's still going on. We started up after a week or 10 days, we weren't sure. So I think April 1st week, when we were clear that yes, food services, deliveries, they are considered essential services, we started up. But we had to retool so many things. We had to figure out what can be done, what do we do. Nobody's eating. It was the first 2-3 months were devastating. Over a period of this year, we've become half the size in terms of staff, in terms of the resources. We had 4 trucks, now we have 2. We've had to give up our kitchen in Gurgaon. These were all tough decisions. And my staff, I used to have 20, now I have 9. Very difficult decisions, difficult for the staff as well. I didn't start out also in April. When I started out with 4 people, and it's slowly I've called back people. It's been very tough year for many of them who sat it out for 6 months without an income, without anything. So, it's changed how I also see the future. Right now we're living from day to day to day. We are not doing our 3-year, 4-year plan, expansion plan. That's all halted right now. It is the hope is to get back to a level that is similar to where we were before. Now it's more recovery. The focus is on recovery, not growth or not, strategy or anything like that. But there have been some strategic shifts that have happened because of this that might remain. It is not just a reaction to COVID. It is again another point of, one of those things, an opportunity that probably we didn't have the time to see before or time to execute before, and now we did. And we've kind of now, we're on that track, which is our packaged food. I mean, snacks, South Indian snacks, meals and sweets, which we launched at this time. We were already in the process of working on it before the pandemic, but we were so busy with our work, and like the work that we were doing was just had kept us so busy that we didn't have the time or the wherewithal to actually launch it as a product and an option. We did that now. It was one thing that we noticed was people, no matter what, whatever they were doing with their house, and whether they were going out or not going out, or sanitizing everything or not sanitizing everything, they were buying chips, potato chips, they were buying namkeens, they were doing all those things. That was flying off the grocery shelves. You're sitting at home, you're eating that. And it just felt like, okay, fine, we have this line that we've developed. Let's launch it. Let's do that. And that's become a very, very vital part of our work. So, it's changed our track a little bit. We still have our trucks. We have fewer trucks, but we're able to achieve more revenues with each truck, more than we were able to with this new line of product, which is not, it's long lasting. It doesn't finish off in a day or two. It's packaged. And using the same base and structure that we had with, the same customer base, same retail, retail work, we're able to sell now. Again, think of it as a value addition to the customer. You're providing them something new and different. And again, we're doing the same thing. We introduce new items every month. And they're eager. They're like, oh, ye acha tha, wo acha tha, ye kaisa hoga, aap iska sample bhejiye, ye hum taste karenge is baar. It's like that. So it's a little bit of the same, but a little different now. And that is a product line that can be independent of this truck business as well. It can be, it can be on shelves in different places. It can be in shops. It can be sold through the internet. I mean, through grocery chains. It can be done in, that has a different, it can have a different trajectory altogether from this. Yeah. So, I mean, it is difficult, but I think the upshot is there could be opportunities even within your darkest hour. And to be able to, that was the thing, a will to survive and see the opportunity and take it.
So should I ask the next obvious question? What does the future look like for Dosa Inc. and for Jyoti also? I mean, what plans you have for yourself?
Survival and recovery and survival is the current future. It isn't like 2 years back where we had a business 5-year plan. We had a plan for growth. This is how we grow. This is the number of trucks. Blah blah blah. That's not there right now. Right now, it's still survival and recovery. And the thing is, it's not over. Right, the pandemic is not over. Again, I mean, last month it felt like everything was done and finished, and now with the vaccine, it may never, the cases might not increase, and right now we're looking at increasing cases across India. And so I mean, definitely right now, I'm in a cautious phase. I'm being we're being cautious, we're being conservative. We'll make the plans when this is truly behind us. For now, it's get back to some semblance of normality, and provide support for the team, for the staff, for the businesses that are part of our business as well. Our vendors, our landlords, our whoever the service providers. They've all pulled together through this time with us. So give them also some support and be with them, and give back what you can to them. and let's hope that, if not next month, in a couple of months, we see the end of the pandemic, and then we start to make our plans.
Right. So how about you? What is Jyoti all about? What's your passions? What do you do in whatever free time you manage to get? And
Whatever free time, like, of course, like everybody else, I have all the streaming, this thing, it's Netflix, Hotstar, Prime, everything. I'm perpetually looking for things to watch, things to read. It's nice, right, to have so much content at your fingertips now.
right.
So that's definitely entertainment. I also, last year, no, year before, sorry, 2019, I went back to something that I used to do when I was young. I was a dancer. I was a Bharatanatyam dancer.
Wow.
And I don't know what came over me. In my 40s, I said, fine, let me try Odissi. And I started learning Odissi in 2019. So it's been 2 years. That's definitely something that's been a very big part of my pandemic year for sure, because without being able to go out and do other things, physical activity, this has been great. My classes continued online.
Okay.
You can dance anywhere.
Exactly. So that's
So
wonderful.
yeah, and I'm very happy now. I feel like I look like an ODC dancer. In my early time, I was like, this is not, my body, my foot. I mean, parts of my body are hurting, which I didn't even know existed. Now, you're getting over that. And, every time my knee hurts, I'm like, is this done? Am I done? Do I need a knee replacement? You have to think about all these things when you're in your 40s, right?
Right.
So that's all in the past, thankfully, and now I'm looking a bit like an Odissi dancer. That feels like a big achievement for me. So that's yeah.
So
And
wonderful. So,
you're older, so you don't learn as fast. So
ah,
you have to work twice as hard as
twice as hard.
yeah, twice as hard as the younger students. They're in their teens. They learn like this, and I am like, what just happened? What can you do that again? Was that right? Was that left? What did you do? Like that.
But it's great that you've taken the initiative and not pulled back on your passion. That's
I
amazing.
mean, it's a bit, of course, also, again, that was a point at which I got time away from this work, right? It had
Right.
reached the stage where I could get time away from there and get time away from my child, who was at that point 6, 5, 6, and he didn't need me so much.
Right.
So
Right.
it was, again, it's one of those things. There is a time and a place, and it happens. It just, once you're 40, you're thinking, oh, shin is hurting. What does that mean? Knee is hurting. What does that mean?
So, for any entrepreneur, Jyoti, an important thing is the support system.
Yeah.
So what's your support system?
Oh, the family. Absolutely the family.
Mm.
Every member of the family has contributed and supported in so many ways. It's unimaginable. From the recipes that we've got from our mothers, from, my husband's mother, from my mother, they've personally taught my staff how to do something, how to, and it's like small things, like tricks of the trade, right? Like the vada, what do you do with the vada to make it fluffy? Like, it's not just about the shape. It's about something that quality that definitely comes from the parents. My father is an entrepreneur himself.
Oh.
And without his encouragement, we would have given up maybe 10 times, 15 times in the past number of years, right? He looked at every hurdle and said, yeah, it's a hurdle. You cross over it and you go to the other side. This is not a make or break. What is this? This is just a stupid thing, Earlier we would like get bogged down by oh, this person stopped us, that person stopped us, they said this and they said that. Like, my father was like, what is this? This is not a problem. This is not a real thing. You answer them and you move on, right? These are small things. So there are many, and it's very important, because these are the things. If you're an entrepreneur, there are 10, 20, 30 people coming out to say no to you. That happens. That's a real thing.
Right.
From investors to the regulatory authorities in India, everybody is going to say that something is not okay with what you're doing. And my father was an entrepreneur in like a brick and mortar business, not a,
Okay.
it's not one of these VC funded startups which defy gravity and defy physics, right? He's a brick and mortar guy. He knows the real challenges. Like, this is a challenge, you overcome this, you do this. He may not know exactly what to tell me to do, but he's able to tell me that this is not something that is cannot be overcome. You can overcome this. Do it. And it would be done, and we move on to the next challenge, right? So to have that kind of a support is it's very essential. So your family needs to stand behind you, I would say, because they are there, in and out with you. Raising a family while raising a business again is very challenging. um, Without their support, without their care, and time for my child, for me to be able to give this time for this would have been difficult. uh, so yes, absolutely, that is essential. You need to build up a support system, and it doesn't always need to be family. You may not be living with your family, you may be living elsewhere, but have a friend circle, or your community circle, something that supports you. And a person who you can go to when you're feeling like overwhelmed, right? That
Right.
you asked this question earlier on, what do you do when you feel overwhelmed?
Yes.
Have a conversation with my father, and it may not even be about the problem I'm feeling overwhelmed about. It could be about anything. And we'll have a glass of wine, and then it'll feel lighter. So have that person who's on your side, or who's behind you, who says that you're doing okay. This is all minor matters. Keep ahead, keep doing this. So that's essential, and I've been very lucky. We've been very lucky that we've had a very robust support system. At no point did any of them say that, look, this is stupid, stop doing this. Nobody said that. So it's very essential, and you need encouragement. It is a challenging journey.
Right. So, thank you so much, Jyoti. I think we had a great talk and a lot of insight, not just about, the food truck business, but, getting to know about what entrepreneurship is all about and all the non-glamorous part of it.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining today. And I'm wishing all the luck to Dosa Inc. and hoping that you guys move to a national level very soon, and we see your trucks all over the country. So
Thank you so much. Thank you
thank you
so much.
so much for
Pleasure
being
to
a
be a
part of
part of
the
it.
show, Jyoti. All the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you.